I want to preface this video by saying, first off, I am not a mechanic by any stretch of the imagination, and this is really more of a video for me than it is for anyone else because I don't know much about engines and what all goes on inside all this mechanical wizardry, but I do want to learn. So this is just me trying to go over as much as what I think I know about this engine bay and all the things inside of it, so that I can reference this video and go to someone on the internet and say, hey, you know that one point in the video, what was that thing? What does it do? So I'm going to try my best to go over as much as I can because, heck, who knows, this might help someone else out. But that is something to keep in mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to get help myself. So let's go over a few things. This vehicle is a 2003 Mitsubishi Outlander LS front-wheel drive United States variant. And it's important to note that even though this is among the first generation of United States Outlanders, and I say first generation of United States Outlanders because Japan had the Mitsubishi Airtrek, which is sometimes considered the real first generation of the Outlander series that ran till about '06. In Japan, that had the 4G63T engine in it. The '03 Outlander in the United States, which is this right here, had the 4G64 naturally aspirated engine in it. But in the United States, from '04 to '06, they used a different engine, which gained them about 20 more horsepower, because this engine, when it was brand new, produced about 140 horsepower. They changed engines the year after this. So this is a 2.4 liter naturally aspirated single overhead cam engine. This is the 4G64. Technically, it's 2,300 and something cc's, but I guess you don't really need to get all that specific about it. And we're going to go over a few things about the engine bay so that I can, point certain things out later on in life and say, hey, you know that thing? All right, so we've obviously got, starting off, the valve cover. We got the oil cap here. It takes 5W30 oil. We've got the exhaust manifold. Don't worry, the car's been off for a long time now. I'm not going to burn myself by touching this. We got the, I guess you can call that a heat shield. PCV valve. I always get mixed up if it's PCV or PVC. Anywho, we got the 4 spark plugs that are located under these. We got ignition coils, 2 of them right here. Each ignition coil powers a spark plug directly all the way down through, and then powers through a spark plug wire set to the spark plug wire down there. So it runs in kind of a set. You see these two go together, and then this one over here, and then this one over here go together as well. So moving over to the left, we've got our power steering fluid. Over here on the left, we have our high pressure valve for the AC coolant, and back here we have the low pressure valve in case that ever needs to be referenced. We've got the connections for the shocks on each of these corners here. We're going to move over. Right here is the windshield washing fluid reservoir access. Just pour it on in there. Making our way around here, we've got the radiator. I believe this is just a standard aluminum radiator. This is an aftermarket radiator fan because the original one went out. This is just a direct OE replacement. One thing to note, the radiator fan controller, which is that right there, did have to get replaced. That is something that was a recall. So Mitsubishi took care of that for me. Moving over, oh actually you know what, the alternator is way down there. And one thing about the alternator is, in order to really get access to it, you gotta take the passenger side front wheel off, cock it to the right, and then take the plastic paneling off, and then you'll have access to the alternator. It is connected to the serpentine belt, which is all right here. Now that obviously is separate from the other belts, the timing belt. And there are actually 2 belts internally on this engine. because the water pump is not hooked up directly to the same belt as the timing belt. Inside here we got hydraulic tensioners, pulleys, the water pump, etc. But there's two belts in there. Over here we got our engine dipstick. Moving on, moseying on over to the right here, we've got the air intake goes into here. Little box that goes on top of the air filter. Air filter is in there. This is just a K&N drop and swap replacement. So this comes off by these two latches, and then you can, from there, just kind of undo by separating this plastic piece and this plastic piece to remove the air filter. Over here we've got the radiator coolant overflow reservoir, and over here we've got the cap to the radiator. Over here down there is the automatic transmission fluid dipstick, I guess you would say. And we got the battery right here. If you're wondering about the battery, how it's placed in there, there is a hook that goes into a hole down there, and then you hook it in there and you place it over this and you tighten it down, and that's how you get it. It's a pain in the butt to do in the dark. Can't be done. I don't know if it'd be a good idea to put a little anti-seize in that thing, because over time, you kind of forget about that nut, and then it gets rusty and stuff, and then it becomes a pain in the butt to remove when you need to replace the battery eventually. But moving on, we have got the fuse box, which I can undo. Oops. Kind of a little awkward to do with one hand, because I don't know if this is going to help anyone at any given point, but maybe there's someone out there who really needs to know the fuse box. Nothing has been altered in this fuse box. There's nothing that's been added to the car that requires any extra fuses and whatnot, but that's what that part of the fuse box looks like. And trying to get this piece off. I'm sure there's something under here, but this piece doesn't want to come off right now, so we'll just unfortunately not bother with that right now. And that just goes back on like that. Pretty simple. Got the other mounts for the struts and shit. Okay, and we got here our brake line fluid. Takes .3 or .4. And that is mostly it. Hold on, there's more things I can think of. I believe that is the MAF, the master airflow sensor, right there. And then over here is where the throttle body would be, right underneath all of that right there. So you undo those hoses and you get to the throttle body. And I believe that is a general overview of the engine. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic. I am not sure if everything that I said is correct. So, yeah, take that for what it's worth. But hey, hopefully this video helps me out, and maybe it helps someone else out along the way.